It's Turf Talk with Matt and Casey. Hey, we are here on, well, I don't even know what episode this is anymore, but we are going to talk about round 3 specifically. So, we've had great success already with our fertilization weed control, our Happy Lawn program. We've had great results, had a lot of happy customers, a lot of positive reviews from that. We are through 2 rounds now. Well, round 2 is officially going to end due to the weather on Tuesday next week. So we are going to start round 3, and we wanted to bring this Turf Talk to you specifically to talk to them about what to expect in round 3, what's going to happen with the weather patterns, the products that we're putting down, why we're putting those products down, what we're trying to achieve in round 3 to make sure you guys know what's going on your property, and so you guys are very informed about that. So let's dive right in. And so round 3, Casey, tell me a little bit about the fertilization and the weed control. What changed from round 2 to round 3?
Well, Matt, you know, every round is specifically designed to meet the challenges of the lawn for that particular time of year. So there are going to be some changes. The weed control is going to change a little bit. We are seeing some crabgrass pop up in lawns that haven't seen that pre-emergent. So we're going to continue that dimension. It's a little odorous, but it'll keep that crabgrass out of the lawn. So we'll keep that in there for a little while, and we'll run that. But we're switching to a spot spray with our herbicides. As the lawns start to warm up, those herbicides, they can be a little stressful. They're designed to work with the lawn. They're turf safe, but the salts and the acids mixed with the heat, they can cause some reactions sometimes in a lawn that's already stressed. So,
Gotcha.
And by now, we've treated your lawn twice. There probably aren't that many weeds. You might see a few around the edges. There's no reason for a blanket spray. We're just going to keep those herbicides out of the environment.
But if the yard still does have a lot of weeds,
we're going to blanket spray it. Yeah.
So if you're a new customer, or if when we took over there was a lot of weeds and there's a lot of room to make up, and your yard does need a blanket spray, we will still do that.
Absolutely. We're also going to kind of slow down on the grub control. Customers that have already seen that application, unless they absolutely want another application of grub control, which they can definitely purchase, they're not going to have that. But we are going to spray grub control over new lawns, new customer lawns. That way we're making sure that we're still hitting that window and we're keeping those grubs from damaging the lawns.
So new clients coming into round 3 will still be able to get your grub control taken care of.
Absolutely. We're going to add surface insect to the mix and flea and tick. Those are 2 separate applications that kind of work the same. They're at a little bit different mix rates, and they target different pests. Obviously, flea and tick, that's going to take care of your fleas and ticks. We're going to keep those little biters off of you. We're going to try and keep them out of your home with the perimeter pest control that we're going to continue through rounds 3, 4, and 5.
And our flea and tick is also called, as you guys might know, our pet lover program.
Correct.
So our pet lover program, it's attacking all those pests and nuisance that are in your yard, but we really want to make it so it's more livable for you guys. So to spend more time out in your backyard or your front yard playing with your kids, around the campfire at night, creating those memories that are super important to people.
Absolutely.
And the surface insect are the 2 free bonus applications. We're gonna start doing those this round.
That's right.
So that's what the surface insect is. It's a little less potent. It's not going to attack the fleas and the ticks. It's going to attack some of the other critters.
It's more for things like sod webworms and army worms. Bugs that are on the surface of the lawn that are feeding. We're going to spray those dudes. We're going to knock them down. We're going to keep them from damaging the lawn, keep them from propagating and creating a whole population of lawn feeding pests in your neighborhood or your lawn.
And then you also mentioned the perimeter pest control, which we're going to continue. And perimeter pest control is another excellent add-on to any one of your programs if you don't have it. As you might have known, we've gone through and are starting to tail off of our rainy season here in central Indiana. And a lot of those bugs that are living in your yard, they, especially during the rainy season, they like to infiltrate your house.
Absolutely.
Because that's dry to them. And so that's what the perimeter pest control is designed to prevent. So if you don't already have perimeter pest control and you're seeing a lot of bugs in your house, give us a call. We are happy to add that onto your program, and we can get you guys treated really pretty soon.
Absolutely. Right now, ants are going to be coming in, especially today. You know, it's pouring rain outside. That's the reason I'm sitting here at the table with you. Excuse me. But ants are going to be coming inside. You know, we're warming up. Spiders are out and they're doing their thing. You know, centipedes and millipedes, things like that. Silverfish are going to be popping up pretty soon. One thing that the perimeter pest control and the surface insect control doesn't handle, and I spoke about that in my recent video on the Facebook page, cicadas. It's a big topic right now. We're not going to worry about those, but any of the other bugs in your lawn, we can take care of them.
And the cicadas, we really don't want to mess with too much, because that is although that you guys know that it is a nuisance. They hit you in the head, they come with it. Trust me, I have been spraying yards, been pelted right in the head with flying cicadas. It's not great, but on the other side of it, if you think about the whole ecosystem,
right.
Those cicadas are very, very beneficial to a lot of the other animals that are around your property that actually feed on those.
Right.
And so we really don't want to mess with those too much. And we're just going to kind of leave those guys alone. We're not trying to hurt them. And then they'll be gone pretty soon anyways.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Yeah, and they'll be gone. But it is pretty interesting, because this is the biggest, I think they call it a brood.
Brood X.
Brood X.
Yeah.
Like, this one came up, like, these things were hatched, or, you know, put in the ground 17 years ago. So, I mean, they've been napping for a long time. So
yeah, they're hungry. They're
starting to come out.
They're single and ready to mingle, and they're busy right now.
That's right. So we're going to let them do their little thing for a couple months, and then they'll be gone. So as we're changing, we kind of talked about the fertilization, how it's kind of changed, and you know, we talked about it in one of the original videos, the NPK. NPK changes almost every single application. You know, so there's a slight change to that based on the temperatures outside.
That's right.
And the weather pattern. So the fertilization too, you know, we don't want to just douse your yard in herbicides every single treatment. You know, we'll do what we have to make it look really good, but you know, we want to hold that off as much as possible. And it's all driven by the weather. So coming up in round 3, we know we're kind of leaving the rainy season. We're kind of coming into the summer. So tell us a little bit about what to expect in round 3.
Sure. So the weather's going to dry out a little bit. We're not going to see as much rain. I said that in the last video, and Mother Nature made a liar of me, because it's been rainy, you know, for the last few weeks, when it typically isn't as rainy as it has been. But that weather pattern is going to, you know, follow the normal path of our yearly cycle, and it is going to dry out. So watering is going to be huge. That's the reason I have the rain gauge sitting here on the table, Matt. We're going to want to make sure that if we don't have an irrigation system, we're breaking out the hose with the sprinkler. We're at least giving the lawn a couple of times a week a healthy watering.
Right.
By a healthy watering, what I mean is, when you set your sprinkler out, you want to set your rain gauge out. If you haven't got one of these, we will get you one for sure. And you want to water to about the 3/4 mark
Okay.
for each area that you're watering. Once you hit that 3/4 mark, move to another area, or if you're done, you're done. And do that a couple of times a week. That's going to keep the lawn from going dormant. Once we see 85 and 90 degree temperatures, and we're going, you know, 5, 6, 8 days without rain,
Right.
which is going to be real common, the lawn's going to start to dry out. It's going to start to stress. That water table is going to drop. You know, typical grass roots, 4 to 5 inches in good soil. If you're in a clay soil, you're looking at 2 inches of root.
Right.
That 2 inches of soil dries up really fast. That turf has no available water, and within a matter of, you know, a week, you'll see it go from a green lawn to a brown lawn.
And one thing we really want to stress is, when it starts going into dormancy, it's really hard to get it back out if you can get it back out. And so we really want to prevent it from ever going into dormancy.
That's right.
And if it does go into dormancy and it starts turning brown, that is nothing that we did to your yard. I mean, I guess if it turns totally brown, like, we definitely could have, like, maybe sprayed the wrong thing on your property. That's probably never going to happen. I have seen it before. Those things usually turn into memes, and you're viral because you spray Roundup over the whole property. But typically, 99.9% of the time, your yard's not turning brown because we didn't put enough fertilization on it. It's purely water driven.
It is. Water is the key ingredient to a healthy lawn. Without that water, the lawn can't, metabolize foods. It can't produce chlorophyll to feed itself. That chlorophyll is what gives it that green color. Without that water, those processes don't work. The lawn's just going to stop, growing. It's going to go to sleep until it has the resources available to wake back up and do its natural thing. So using these rain gauges is huge.
And that's why we give them to all of our customers. Everybody gets them for free.
Yeah.
So you should have one in your mulch bed, somewhere in your mulch bed. And if you don't have one, if you're a new customer, you'll be getting one in round 3. If you don't have one, just let us know. We'll put a note on your account. Next time Casey's out, we'll get you one.
I've got a 5-gallon bucket of these things sitting between the seats of my truck, and I carry one to every door. So.
Yeah. And another thing, if it's when we talk about this browning yard, if your yard is brown, it's too late. Like
it is.
You need to start now, so you never want it to get brown.
Right.
The browning is not the sign that you need to start watering.
No, it's a sign that you're late on your watering. And a great way you can check your soil, Matt, is even with this this rain gauge. It's got the little spike on the bottom there. If you walk out into the lawn and you can easily press that spike into the soil, that means there's probably a good amount of moisture in there. Unless you're just on a sand lawn, then you probably don't have grass anyway. But as long as you can stick that spike down into the soil surface, the lawn's probably got sufficient water. When you have to struggle and you feel like you're going to break that spike off and you can't get it into the soil, that's because your soil's hard and dry. You need to break out the garden hose now. Like you said, it's so much harder to bring turf back from dormancy. It takes 3 times the amount of watering to bring turf back out of dormancy than it would have to have prevented it in the first place. So you're going to save money in the long run by just breaking the garden hose out a couple times a week.
Gotcha. And so, time of watering, like when should people water? Middle of the night or middle of the day?
Ideally, Matt, we want to see early morning waterings. If you're breaking out the hose and sprinkler, that can be difficult. Now, Rainbird makes a nice little digital timer that hooks right up to your garden spigot. I think they're about $80. You can pick them up at Lowe's and Menards.
We actually have a video of that on our YouTube page.
Yeah, you set them and forget them. It's like having an irrigation system without having the cost of having an irrigation system installed. Right. Now, if you have an irrigation system on, obviously that's great. That's so much better, for your schedule. You can set it and forget it, But if you have to break the sprinklers out, I suggest, get a timer. That way you can do those early morning waterings that are more beneficial. 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, just as the sun's coming up. That way the surface is going to dry out. The soil is going to retain some of that moisture. The grass is going to suck that up and put it to work. Now, late night waterings, if you have to water after you get off work, do that right as the sun's starting to set, but not quite gone. You want the surface of the lawn to dry out, because what happens if you leave the lawn wet overnight, mold and fungus, especially fungus spores, are spreading out through the night. They're blowing on that night breeze. They're going to stick to that wet grass. And you're going to see an outbreak of fungus.
Speaking of fungus, what kind of diseases are we going to start seeing in the lawns? And actually, better question, what diseases have you already seen in the lawn?
So I've seen a lot of red thread this year. Red thread, you'll see it more in bluegrass, but you will see it in some of your fescues. Red thread is typically driven by a lack of nitrogen in the lawn. And what you'll see is a little brown patch with some pink coloration or red coloration. Sometimes you'll actually see that stomata, that red thread, sticking off the top of a blade. And what happens is, as we see so much rainfall, those nutrients in the soil, they dilute and they wash out. The grass is sucking up more water than anything. So there is a little bit of a lack of nitrogen in the lawn. Even with fertilization, we can see this, but typically the fertilization grows that fungus out. You don't see that damage, or you see that damage repair after fertilization.
So red thread's not necessarily deadly to the lawn.
No.
We can take care of that pretty easy.
We can take care of that with some fertilizer.
Normal fertilizer.
But we are going to start seeing some dollar spot in bluegrass. Dollar spot is it's going to be a circle of brown that's in the lawn. It's about the size of a silver dollar, hence the name Dollar Spot. And it will spread pretty rapidly.
Not to be confused with dog pea spots.
Correct.
Very different.
There is an obvious difference with those, and you can tell the difference if you know what to look for. Typically with a dog pea spot, it's very yellow, and it kind of fades out, and then it's really dark green around it because as that
the urea.
The urea, breaks down, it becomes nitrogen, and it feeds the lawn. But in that center of the spot where it's really heavy, it's just too much. Yeah. It's a chemical burn.
And if you think that you might have something like this, feel free to. I mean, because we're only on your yard once every 30 to 45 days, so we need a little bit of help from you also as the homeowner. So if you're walking around your yard and you're wondering, feel free to send Casey a picture to his email. So each time that you guys get a treatment done, you'll get a form of exactly what we did. Casey's email is on that form. Just send him a picture of it, and he'd be happy to help you analyze what that is.
They can respond directly to those forms that they get, Matt, and that goes directly to my inbox.
Yeah.
So it makes it very simple for them.
And if it is a disease that we need to know about, because there are diseases that will be coming up that can really ruin your lawn, and if that is the case, we need to know about those like ASAP, because we have to put a special treatment on there.
Yeah.
Now those treatments are not free. They definitely cost more, but it's a lot cheaper to spray those and prevent your whole yard from dying than to have to redo the whole property.
Correct. With most lawns, Matt, as long as proper mowing practices and proper watering practices are going on, good aeration, the soil's nice and healthy, the grass is nice and healthy. A little bit of fertilizer is all you need to grow out some fungus. But like you said, in a lot of lawns, they're not going to have the ideal conditions to be able to grow that out. We are going to have to apply some fungicides, and if they need that, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, we can take care of that for them.
Another fungus that I've started to see pop up because we have had some humid weather is leaf spot. We're going to see that in more of our fescue lawns, and that's going to be characterized by some browning tips and lesions on the blade of grass. Turf type tall fescue is a wider blade than the bluegrass. It's much easier to see that damage. Mm-hmm. If you look down at the lawn and you're seeing small lesions that look like a cigarette burn, that's probably leaf spot. In most cases, it's not going to cause a huge amount of damage, but if it's left untreated and conditions are not right for the grass to repair itself, we can see some definite damage.
Interesting. And so those are all things that we're going to start seeing in round 3. So be cognizant of that on your side. If you see any of that, let us know. If we're on your yard, we will definitely catch that, and we'll let you know, or we'll just take care of it. Probably a little bit of both. But do you have anything else for round 3?
No, definitely on the form there is a section that we can fill out and let you know. It's got a whole list of fungus. You won't see that unless you actually have a fungus, and we notate that. But we will definitely let you know. And we'll let you know what options we have to repair that in the notes below, or if we just need the fertilizer. So.
Gotcha. Well, perfect. Well, it's been great educating you guys on round 3, what we're going to see, what we're not going to see. So until next time, this has been Turf Talk. Wonderful talking to you, and we'll see you on the lawn.